Search her bag. Joyce froze. The words landed harder than the security guard's hand on her wrist. Around her, the boardroom went silent. Someone had reported a missing luxury watch, and somehow the poor contract cleaner became the easiest suspect. Security dumped her bag onto the conference table. Her wallet, her medication, a folded hospital bill, then a sealed medical report slid out. One executive frowned, another leaned forward, and then someone said it. "She's sick?" Joyce moved fast. Too late. The paper had already been opened. Silence, then a sharp voice. "Then why are you even here?" That did it. Something inside her snapped. Joyce looked up. Eyes burning, voice shaking, but steady enough to cut. "Because dying is expensive." Silence. Heavy? Uncomfortable? A few executives looked away, but one man didn't. At the head of the table sat Kong Ha-jun, CEO of Kong Group, cold, untouchable, emotionally unreadable. Until now. Because Joyce's voice had just dragged him 10 years backward to rain, blood, and the stranger who saved his life. If this story already has your heart in a grip, you are not alone, because this one is going to shake you all the way to the end. Don't go anywhere. 3 hours earlier. Joyce was sitting in a hospital corridor, not as a visitor, as a patient trying to negotiate her own death. "Miss Joyce," the billing officer said, not unkindly, "we understand your situation, but the treatment schedule requires a deposit. You're already 3 weeks behind." Joyce kept her face even. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her knuckles were pale. "I know," she said. "I'm working on it. I just need 2 more weeks." The billing officer looked at her, then at his screen, then back at her. 2 weeks. "Yes. See, I'll note it in the file. But Ms. Joyce, please understand, we can't keep delaying indefinitely. Your condition, I understand my condition," she said quietly, "better than anyone in this building." She stood. She thanked him. She walked out of the hospital without letting her face break. Not in the corridor, not in the elevator, not in the car park. She waited until she was outside, in the cold air with traffic noise drowning everything. And then she pressed her palm flat against the wall and breathed. Just breathed. She had 2 hours before her cleaning shift at Kong Group. She couldn't afford to be late. She couldn't afford anything, really. But she showed up, because she always showed up. Kong Group's main office building was the kind of place that made you feel small on purpose. Marble floors, glass ceilings, security guards who looked straight through you if you weren't wearing the right kind of suit. Joyce had been cleaning here for 8 months. She knew which floors had the faulty ventilation. She knew which executives left the worst messes. She knew the schedule by heart and which rooms needed to be cleared before board meetings, which bathrooms were busiest, which corridors were almost always empty. She was invisible here. She preferred it that way. That afternoon, the 22nd floor was being prepared for a high-level board meeting. Joyce was mopping the corridor outside the boardroom when one of the senior staff, a man named Director Lim, walked out with his face tight. "Cleaner?" he said. "Did you go into the boardroom?" Joyce stopped. "To clean it, yes. This morning, around 7. Was anyone in there when you finished?" "No, the room was empty." Director Lim's jaw worked. "There's a Vacheron Constantin watch missing, worth 40 million won. It was on the table this morning." Joyce said nothing. Director Lim looked at her the way people look at someone they've already decided is guilty. "Security will want to speak with you." And that was how Joyce ended up in front of a room full of executives with her bag emptied onto the conference table. Her wallet, her medication, 3 different bottles, a folded hospital bill, and then the sealed medical report, which she'd brought because she had a follow-up appointment right after her shift. One executive frowned when it slid out. "She's sick?" Joyce moved fast. Too late. The paper had already been opened by the time she reached the table. The room went quiet in that specific way, the way rooms go quiet when something private becomes public against someone's will. And then one voice cut through, sharp, dismissive. "Then why are you even here?" Something inside Joyce snapped. She looked up, eyes burning, voice shaking, but steady enough to cut. "Because dying is expensive." Nobody spoke, and that was when she felt it. A gaze. Different from the rest. She turned toward the head of the table, Kong Ha-jun. He was exactly what she'd expected from a CEO at 34. Expensive suit, perfect posture, a face built to reveal nothing. But his eyes were somewhere else entirely. They were fixed on her like he was trying to place her, like he was reaching for something just out of memory. And his expression, just for a fraction of a second, looked like a man who had seen a ghost. The watch was found 20 minutes later. It had fallen behind the boardroom radiator. An oversight, not theft. The security team confirmed it. Director Lim offered Joyce a stiff, minimal apology. "We were under pressure, you understand." Joyce looked at him for a long moment. "Not an apology?" she said, but noted. She picked up her things, medication, bill, medical report, and put them back in her bag one by one. Slowly, deliberately, because she was not going to be rushed through her own humiliation. Kong Ha-jun watched from across the corridor as she zipped up her bag. He stepped toward her. "Ms. Joyce?" she said without turning around. "Joyce." He paused. "I apologize for what happened there." She turned. She looked at him, this man who had said search her bag without blinking, and she studied his face the way you study something you're deciding whether to trust. She decided not to. "Money must make saying sorry difficult," she said. "You waited until the room was empty?" He opened his mouth. I closed it. Nobody talked to him like that. Nobody. Joyce walked to the elevator. She pressed the button. She didn't look back. Ha-jun stood in that corridor for a moment longer than he needed to. His assistant, Shir-woo, appeared beside him. Young, efficient, quietly observant. "Do you want me to—" "Find out who she is," Ha-jun said. Shir-woo nodded. "I already pulled her file when security flagged her. Contract cleaner. 8 months with the building. Clean record." "That's not what I meant." Shir-woo looked at him. "Find out everything," Ha-jun said. "Where she lives. Why does she have 3 medications? What the medical report said." Shir-woo hesitated. "Sir, is that appropriate?" Chuckle. "Probably not. Do it anyway." Down on the ground floor in the staff changing room, Joyce sat on a bench and pressed the heels of her hands against her eyes. She was shaking. Not from the humiliation, though that was there too. From the effort of holding it together in front of all of them. From the effort of standing in that room while strangers read her medical report and looked at her like she was already gone. She pulled out her phone. A message from her grandmother. "Seo-yeon. Did you eat today?" Joyce smiled. Small, real. She typed back, "Yes, halmoni." She hadn't eaten, but Seo-yeon worried enough without being given more reasons. Joyce put her phone away. She had a hospital appointment in 40 minutes. She had a night shift at a convenience store starting at 11. She had a list of things she couldn't afford and a body that was running out of time to figure it out. But she stood up. Because she always stood up. What Joyce didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that across the city, in the back of a black car moving through evening traffic, Kong Hajun was sitting with his eyes closed, not sleeping, remembering. It was 10 years ago. He was 24, reckless in the way that rich young men are reckless when they think money makes them invincible. A night out that went wrong, a rooftop, rain, a fall that should have ended everything. He remembered lying on the pavement below, the rain cold and relentless, his vision going dark at the edges. He remembered a voice, not loud, not panicking, calm, the way someone is calm when they've decided what to do and won't let fear stop them. Hey, look at me. Don't close your eyes. Hands pressing on his side. Hard. His own voice, weak. You're hurting me. I know. I'm sorry, but you're bleeding and I need you to stay awake. He tried to look at her face. The rain made it hard. He saw dark hair, young, determined eyes, and then she said something. A phrase he'd never been able to explain away. Something soft. Something in the kind of voice that meant she was scared too, but she wasn't leaving. It's okay to be scared, just don't be alone in it. I'm here. That was the last thing he remembered before the ambulance. He never found her. He tried in the years after. A private search, hospital records, security footage around the area. Nothing. She had disappeared like rain. And today, in a boardroom, standing with a hospital bill in her hand and eyes that wouldn't back down, Joyce had said something. Quietly. Almost to herself when they first cornered her. She had said, "It's okay to be scared. Just don't be alone in it." Hajun opened his eyes. The city lights moved past the car window. His hands were still on his knees, completely still. The report came 2 days later. Shiwoo delivered it with the careful expression of someone who knew they were handing over something heavy. Her name is Joyce, age 32. She moved back from Botswana 14 months ago. She lives with her grandmother, Seo Yun. She works 3 jobs. And the medical report, Shiwoo paused. Stage 2 diagnosis. She's receiving treatment, but it's been inconsistent due to financial difficulty. Hajun read the file, slowly. He said nothing for a long time. Then, who knows about the treatment delays? Her grandmother, possibly no one else. Hajun closed the folder. She doesn't know I had this pulled. No. Good. Keep it that way. But nothing stays hidden in a building where someone is always watching, and someone was watching. Her name was Min Sun, Hajun's mother. Elegant, precise, the kind of woman who smiled at you while calculating exactly how much you were worth to her, and exactly how much of a threat you posed. Min Sun had noticed Hajun's reaction in the boardroom. She had eyes for things like that. She called Shiwoo into her office the following morning. She was pleasant. She offered him tea. She asked calmly and specifically about Joyce. Shiwoo told her what he could. He left out what he should have. Min Sun smiled and thanked him. Then she made a phone call. Joyce noticed it a week later. The convenience store where she worked nights called to say her shifts were being reduced. Business reasons, the manager said, not quite meeting her eyes on the call. Then the agency that provided her part-time catering work sent a message. We've had to reassign your upcoming bookings. We'll be in touch. Then the cleaning company called. Building management had requested that contract cleaners on the upper floors sign new background clearance forms with stricter financial disclosure requirements. Joyce sat with her phone in her hand and felt the shape of it. It wasn't random. This was deliberate. Someone was pulling threads, and one by one, the income she had carefully built was starting to unravel. She told no one. She didn't want Seo Yun to worry. She didn't want pity. She went to the hospital alone for her next appointment. The doctor was kind. He always was. Joyce, the treatment plan is effective when it's consistent. The gaps are slowing your progress. We need to talk about getting you on a proper payment schedule. I'm working on it. I know you are. He leaned forward. But your body doesn't run on plans. It runs on treatment. She nodded. She thanked him. She walked out. Hajun saw her leaving the clinic. He hadn't planned it. He'd been passing in his car, a route he didn't usually take. And there she was, smaller than she seemed in the boardroom, carrying her bag with both hands, face tilted down against the wind. He told the driver to slow down. He didn't get out. He didn't call her name. He just watched her walk to the bus stop and stand there alone in the cold. Something moved in his chest. He didn't have a name for it yet. He started noticing things, small things. The way she always worked slightly faster than everyone else, like time was something she couldn't waste. The way she ate lunch standing up in the corridor, a triangle of kimbap, something small, and was back at work before anyone else had finished. The way she never asked for help, not from anyone. He had his driver take a route past her grandmother's apartment complex once, not to follow her. He told himself that. The building was old, clean, but worn. That the kind of place where people make things work because they have no choice. He sat in the car and looked at the lit window on the 4th floor for a moment longer than was reasonable. Then he told the driver to go. Hajun had grown up surrounded by people who performed emotion, board members who performed loyalty, staff who performed enthusiasm, family associates who performed warmth while calculating returns. Joyce was the first person in a long time who didn't perform anything. She was just honest, painfully, inconveniently, completely honest. And that honesty was making it very difficult for him to stay inside his own head. He found an excuse to be on the same floor as her shift 3 days in a row. The 3rd time she looked up from her cart and said, without missing a beat, "You're following me." Not a question. "I'm overseeing the floor renovation schedule," he said. "The renovation finished last month." He said nothing. She looked at him, that direct, burning look that stripped away anything decorative. "You had someone pull my file," she said. "I figured it out. The clinic confirmed a records request came through a corporate channel." Hajun didn't flinch. "Yes." "Why?" "I wanted to understand your situation." "You don't get to dig through my life because you were embarrassed," she said. "I'm not a problem for you to solve. I'm a person." "I know." "Do you?" She tilted her head. "Because the last time you saw me, you ordered someone to dump my bag on a table in front of 15 people. The words landed exactly as she meant them to. Hajun held her gaze. "I was wrong," he said. "Not just when the room was empty. I'm saying it now. I was wrong." Silence. Joyce studied him. Then she picked up her mop and went back to work. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Minsun came to the building the following Tuesday. She didn't announce herself to Joyce. She found her in the supply corridor, alone, stacking clean towels onto the cart. "You must be Joyce," she said. Joyce turned. She recognized the face immediately. By the same bone structure as Hajun, but colder, more deliberate. "Mrs. Kong," Joyce said. Minsun smiled. "You know who I am?" "I do." Minsun looked around the corridor, as if she were being polite, as if the setting didn't tell its own story. "I'll be direct," she said. "I've noticed my son's attention toward you. I don't think it serves either of you." Joyce kept her hands on the cart. "What does that mean?" "It means," Minsun said softly, "that Ha-Jun carries the weight of an entire company, an entire family, a legacy. He doesn't have room in his life for complications. Complications? Joyce repeated. I've made some inquiries, Min-sun continued. Your treatment is expensive. Your situation is fragile. She opened her bag. I'd like to help. She placed an envelope on the cart. Thick, white. Joyce looked at it. She looked at Min-sun. How much? She asked. Enough, Min-sun said. Enough to finish your treatment. Enough to help your grandmother. Enough to start over somewhere quiet. The corridor was very still. And in exchange, Joyce said. Disappear, Min-sun said simply. Not cruelly, just quietly. Leave the building. Leave Seoul if that's easier. You're clearly a resourceful woman. You'll land on your feet. Joyce looked at the envelope. Then she picked it up. Hold it. And handed it back. No, she said. Min-sun blinked. Just once. Excuse me? I'm not for sale, Joyce said. And I'm not a problem your son created. I'm a person who works here. If that's inconvenient for your family, that's not something I'm responsible for. Min-sun took the envelope back. Her smile didn't waver, but something behind her eyes went flat. I see, she said. She left the corridor as quietly as she'd come, and Joyce pressed her hands against the cart, gripping the metal edge, and breathed. She was shaking, not from fear, from fury. 2 days later, Joyce received a letter from the hospital. Her upcoming treatment session had been delayed. Administrative review of her payment account. Estimated delay 3 to 4 weeks. Joyce read it twice. She called the billing department. I'm sorry, Ms. Joyce. It's a routine review. We can't override it from this office. She hung up. She sat at Seo Yun's kitchen table. Outside the window, evening was settling over the city. Seo Yun shuffled in and put a bowl of soup in front of her. She didn't ask questions. She just sat down across from her granddaughter and waited. Halmony, Joyce said finally. Do you ever regret the things you do for people who don't know you did them? Seo Yun was quiet for a moment. No, she said, because that's not why you do them. Joyce nodded slowly. Seo Yun reached across the table and put her hand over Joyce's. Whatever is happening, the old woman said, you don't have to carry it alone. Joyce looked at her, the woman who had raised her, who had worked herself to nothing to give Joyce a chance, who was sitting here in her small kitchen with arthritis in her hands and kindness in her eyes, still trying to take on her burden. Something broke open in Joyce's chest. She didn't cry. She didn't let herself, but it was close, very close. She collapsed the following morning in the supply room, alone. Too many shifts, not enough food, the treatment gap catching up with her body like a debt finally called in. She came to the floor, cold tiles, her cheek against the ground. The first thing she felt was embarrassment. The second was pain, and the third, Shi Wu was crouching beside her. Joyce, hey, can you hear me? I'm fine, she said immediately. You're on the floor. I know where I am. Don't touch me. She pushed herself up slowly, sat with her back against the shelf. I just, stood up too fast. Shiwu looked at her. He was young, mid-20s, with the face of someone still deciding what kind of person to be. And right now, he was deciding to be honest. I have to tell him, he said. No, you don't. He'll find out anyway. Shiwu. She looked at him directly. Please. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, let me get you water and something to eat, and then we can argue about the rest. She let him. He told Ha-Jun anyway. Of course he did. Ha-Jun didn't say anything when Shi Wu finished. He sat at his desk for a long time. Then, the treatment delay. Did you look into it? I did. Shiwu hesitated. The billing review was flagged from an external contact. Someone with access to the hospital's administrative system made a request that put her account on hold. Ha-Jun went very still. External contact Ken, he said. Yes. Named? Shiwu put a file on the desk. Ha-Jun opened it. He looked at it for a long time. Then he closed it. Thank you, he said. His voice was perfectly even. Shiwu nodded and left. Ha-Jun sat alone in his office. His mother. Of course. He should have seen it sooner. He should have protected Joyce from it sooner. The guilt arrived quietly and stayed. He went to her. He didn't announce it. He found out which floor she was working on, and he went there. When she saw him coming, she sighed and leaned on her mop. Whatever you're about to say, I know about the treatment delay, he said. She stopped. I know what my mother did, he continued, and I'm going to fix it. Joyce's jaw tightened. I don't need you to fix it. It shouldn't have happened. A lot of things shouldn't have happened. She looked at him. But they did, and I handled it. You collapsed. Silence. I'm still standing, she said. Joyce, not everything broken needs your money, she said. I didn't ask for your family's interference, and I'm not asking for your rescue. I'm asking to be left alone to manage my own life. Ha-Jun was quiet. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, she looked tired, not weak, just, tired. The way someone looks when they've been holding something heavy for too long and their arms are shaking, but they are not ready to put it down. Okay, he said quietly. She blinked. I won't push, he said. But I'm going to deal with the administrative hold. That's not me rescuing you. That's me correcting something my family did wrong. You can be angry about it. That's fair. She said nothing for a moment. I am angry, she said finally. I know. Your mother looked me in the eye and offered me money to disappear. Something moved through Ha-Jun's face. Fast gone. I know, he said again. And you're still standing here. Yes. Why? He didn't answer immediately. He looked at her the way someone looks when they're weighing whether the truth is worth the risk. Then he said, because I think you're the most honest person I've ever met, and I don't know what to do with that. Joyce looked at him, long, quiet. Then she picked up her mop and went back to work. But she was thinking. Things shifted after that. Not dramatically, not in the way of movies with swelling music and sudden declarations. More quietly. Ha-Jun started doing small things. He had Shai-Woo arrange for a proper meal delivery to the building's staff room. Not obvious, not labeled, just there. He drove past her bus stop one evening and offered a ride. She refused. He offered again the next evening. She got in. She said nothing for the first 5 minutes. Then, you're bad at this. At what? Not being obvious. He didn't answer, but she saw the corner of his mouth move. One afternoon, she had a clinic appointment that ran late. She came out to find his car at the curb. She stood on the sidewalk and watched. Then at him through the window. He looked back. She got in. On the way back, he didn't ask about the appointment. She didn't offer. But at a red light, he said, Seo Yun's birthday is next week. I heard from Shai-Woo. Joyce looked at him. Why do you know that? I know a lot of things, he said. Is there something she wants? You're not buying my grandmother a birthday present. Why not? Because that's... She stopped. Because you barely know her. I'd like to. She looked out the window. She likes chrysanthemums, Joyce said finally, and red bean pastry from the market near her apartment. Ha-Jun said nothing. He remembered both, Seo Yun was the one who finally said it out loud. Joyce came home one evening to find her grandmother sitting at the kitchen table with a box of red bean pastries and a vase of white chrysanthemums. Joyce stopped in the doorway. Where did these come from? Seo Yun looked up. Her eyes were doing something complicated. A young man brought them, she said. Halmoni Ampian. He sat with me for 20 minutes, Seo Yun said. He asked about Botswana, about your father, about what you were like as a child. Joyce pressed her hand to her forehead. He's very polite, Seo Yun said. He's my employer. He used to be. Seo Yun tilted her head. Is he still? Yes. Then why does he look at you like you're something he lost a long time ago and only just found? Joyce sat down. She didn't answer. Because she didn't know what to say. Because somewhere between the boardroom and the bus stop and the quiet evenings in the car, something had happened that she hadn't planned for. She had started to trust him. Just barely. Just enough to be dangerous. Ha-Jun was in his study when he found the pendant, or rather, when he found the photograph of it. Shi-Woo had included a personal inventory in Joyce's file. Standard security documentation, items noted during the building search, and there was a description. Small silver pendant, circular design, unusual. Ha-Jun sat forward. He opened his desk drawer. He pulled out a photograph. Old, printed, creased at the corners. It was the only image he had from that night. The CCTV had been poor quality, but the pendant in the photograph was the same. He stood up. He left the office. He drove to the apartment building where Joyce lived with Seo Yun. He rang the bell. Joyce opened the door. She was wearing a plain shirt, hair loose, off guard. She looked at his face and her expression changed. What's wrong? Where did you get that pendant? He said. She touched it instinctively. What? The one around your neck. Where did it come from? My mother gave it. She stopped. Ha-Jun, what's happening? He pulled out his phone. He showed her the photograph. She looked at it, then at him, then at it again. Where did you get this? She asked quietly. 10 years ago, he said. A rooftop, rain, someone... His voice caught. Someone saved my life. I never found her. I've been looking for 10 years. Joyce went completely still. Ha-Jun, she said. Was it you? He asked. She looked at him. This man who had stood in a boardroom and ordered her humiliated, and then stood in a corridor and said he was wrong, and then showed up at her grandmother's door with chrysanthemums. Breath. Yes, she said. He didn't move. I was walking home from a late shift, she said. I heard you fall. I didn't know who you were. You were just a person. In the rain. Bleeding. You stayed until the ambulance came. Yes. You never came forward. I didn't want anything from it. You didn't want... He stopped. Clear his throat. I spent 10 years looking... I know, I'm sorry. She held his gaze. But I didn't save you for a reward. I saved you because you needed saving. What happened next wasn't fair. What happened next was the kind of moment that looks from the outside like a misunderstanding, but from the inside feels like a betrayal. Ha-Jun went cold. She watched it happen. The warmth that had slowly built in his face over weeks, the care, the softness, the quiet attention, closed off like a door shutting. You knew, he said. What? You knew who I was. When you came to work at Kong Group, you knew who I was and you said nothing. Ha-Jun, did you come here on purpose? His voice was very controlled, very even. Was this... He looked at her. Was this a strategy? Get close to the man whose life you saved? Use it when the time is right? Joyce stared at him. You can't believe that, she said. You had every opportunity to tell me. I didn't want to, she said, because I wasn't trying to get anything from you. I never was. It's a remarkable coincidence, he said. Flat. Cold. I needed work, she said. Kong Group is one of the largest employers in this district. It wasn't remarkable. It was... Her voice broke slightly, and she caught it. It was just life. Ha-Jun, look at me. He looked at her, and she saw it. The wall that privilege builds when someone is afraid of being used. I'm not using you, she said. I have never wanted anything from you except to be treated like a person. He said nothing. He left. She didn't cry until she'd closed the door. Then she sat on the floor with her back against it and pressed both hands over her mouth and let it come. All of it. The months of holding on, the exhaustion, the humiliation, the hope she'd been stupid enough to feel. Seo Yoon found her there. She sat down beside her on the floor. She didn't ask anything. She just stayed. If your chest is tight right now, if you want to reach through the screen and shake Ha-Jun until he wakes up, that means the story is doing exactly what it should. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment because Joyce deserves to be defended. We're only halfway through. Stay with us. Ha-Jun didn't sleep. He sat in his apartment, all glass and clean lines and silence, and stared at the city. He kept replaying her face. Not the one he'd expected, calculating, caught, defensive. The one he'd actually seen. Devastated. The kind of devastation that doesn't perform itself. By morning, he'd built a convincing case against her. By the next morning, he was less sure. By the third morning, he called Shai-Wu. The timeline, he said. When Joyce came to work at this building, pull the exact date and cross-reference it with when she returned from Botswana. Shiwu was quiet for a moment. I already did that, he said carefully. And? She returned from Botswana 14 months ago. She registered with the cleaning agency 13 months ago. She was assigned to this building 8 months ago. Standard rotation. She didn't request the assignment. Ha-Jun said nothing. Also, Shiwu said, I checked whether she ever accessed your personal file, your schedule, or your public profile through any of the building systems. And? She didn't. Not once. Silence. She didn't know, Ha-Jun said. No, Shiwu said quietly. I don't think she did. Meanwhile, Min-sun was not finished. She had watched the days pass with the careful patience of someone who has always played a long game. She had not expected Joyce to refuse her offer. She did not intend to let that stand. She called in a favor from an old contact at the hospital board. The administrative hold on Joyce's treatment was extended. Another 4 weeks. Routine review, the contact said. Of course, Min-sun said. Thank you. She put down the phone and smoothed the front of her jacket. Her son would come to his senses. He always did. Joyce got the second letter on a Wednesday. She read it twice. She called the billing department. Same answer. She sat at the table for a long time. The treatment was time-sensitive. The doctor had said so. Her body had said so. 8 weeks without consistent treatment was not just a setback. It was a timeline. She did the maths. She put the letter in her bag. She went to work. That night she worked her shift and then sat in the empty staff room after everyone else had gone. She was very still. She had always been good at being still. She thought about Seo Yun. She thought about what Seo Young would do without her. She wondered if she had done enough. She thought about a rainy pavement and a young man bleeding and the decision she'd made in about 4 seconds to stop, to stay, to help. She didn't regret it. She had never regretted it. She just wished, sitting here in this empty room with an extended hospital hold and no income plan and a body running low, she just wished she'd let someone carry it with her sooner. Shewu found her there. He had come back for something he'd forgotten. He saw her through the glass. He went in. "You okay?" he said. "Yes," she said. He sat down across from her. "Ha-Jun is an idiot," he said. Joyce looked at him. "He knows it," Shewu continued. "He's been sitting in his office for 3 days being wrong and knowing he is wrong and being too..." Sighed him. He to himself to fix it. "You're very candid for an assistant." "I've worked for him for 4 years. I've earned the candor." He looked at her. "He's not a bad person. He just has a very strong defense system. Against people who might use him," Joyce said. "Yes." "I understand it," she said. Not warmly, just honestly. "It doesn't make it less painful." "No," Shewu said. "It doesn't." They sat for a moment. "The treatment holds," Joyce said quietly. "Do you know anything about that?" Shai-Wu looked at his hands. "Tell me," she said. He looked up. "It's Min's son. He knows. He's dealing with it." Joyce absorbed that. "He's dealing with it how?" "He's confronting her tomorrow." The confrontation between Ha-Jun and his mother was not loud. That was the thing about the Kong family. Their wounds were always delivered quietly. He came to her office in the family home, all antique furniture and controlled elegance, and he sat across from her. Min's son was already pouring tea. "Ha-Jun," she said, "you look tired." "You extended the hold on her treatment," he said. She set the teapot down. "She's running out of time," he said, "and you know that. You had her file. You knew what the gaps meant." Min's son met his eyes. "I was protecting you. You were trying to end something that wasn't yours to end." "Ha-Jun." "She saved my life," he said. Silence. Min's son's composure held, but just barely. "She was a stranger on the street," she said carefully. "That was 10 years ago. She pressed her hands against my side in the rain for 40 minutes, he said. "Until the ambulance came, she was 18 years old. She didn't know who I was. She just..." His jaw tightened. "She just stayed." Min's son was very still. "And you," he said, "you tried to buy her silence. You extended her treatment hold. You cost her shifts. You threatened her grandmother's stability." His voice didn't rise, it dropped. "You have spent 3 months trying to erase the one person in my life who has never wanted anything from me." Min's son looked at her son. She had always been good at reading him. What she saw now was not anger. It was something harder to argue with. Certainty. "If you do anything else to harm her," he said quietly, "I will remove you from the board, effective immediately." Min's son's breath caught. "Ha-Jun." "I mean it." He stood. He straightened his jacket. "You'll reverse the hold today," he said. "All of them." He left. This is the moment. Min's son just got confronted. Ha-Jun finally chose. But Joyce doesn't know yet. If you've been here this long, you're in it with us. And we are grateful for that. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and drop your comment below. Do you think Ha-Jun is too late or just in time? Keep watching. We are almost there. He drove to her apartment building. He rang the bell. Seo-Yun opened the door. She looked at him. He looked at her. "She's not here," Seo-Yun said. "Do you know where she is?" "The hospital," Seo-Yun said. He was already moving back toward the car. "Wait," Seo-Yun said. He stopped. The old woman looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were very clear. "She told me about you," she said. "What she did that night 10 years ago." "Yes." "She made me promise not to tell anyone." Seo-Yun tilted her head. She didn't want you to feel obligated. I don't feel obligated, he said. Then what do you feel? He stood on her doorstep, under the evening sky. Like I wasted a lot of time being afraid of the wrong things, he said. Seo-yun studied him. Then she stepped back. The hospital is 20 minutes from here, she said. Drive carefully. He found Joyce in the waiting area outside the oncology ward, sitting with her bag on her lap, hands folded, eyes forward. When she heard his footsteps, she looked up. She saw him. She looked back at the floor. I'm not in the mood, she said. I know. He sat down beside her. She said nothing. The hold has been reversed, Huyen, he said. All of them. Your treatment resumes tomorrow. The shifts, I've spoken with the agencies. It's been corrected. I didn't ask you to do that. No, he said. You didn't. She was quiet. Joyce, don't. Her voice was low. Don't sit here and fix things and think that makes it. I'm not trying to make it okay, he said. It's not okay. What I said to you was wrong. I looked at you and I saw every person who has ever come to me with an angle and I... Breath. I made you into something you're not. She turned and looked at him. Her eyes were red at the edges, not from crying, from holding it back. You were the person in the rain, he said. You were 18 years old and you pressed your hands against a stranger's wound for 40 minutes. You've been carrying that for 10 years and you never once tried to use it. No, she said. I know. Then why? Because I was scared, he said. Simply. Without dressing it up. Because caring about someone is the thing I'm worst at. She looked at him. The waiting room was quiet around them. Somewhere, a monitor beeped. Somewhere, an announcement played. Neither of them moved. You hurt me, she said. I know. It wasn't just what you said. It was the look on your face. Like I was... She stopped. I know, he said again. Joyce, I know. She looked down at her hands. He reached over. He put his hand over hers. She didn't move. Neither did he. I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight, he said. I'm not asking you for anything. He stopped. Started again. I just need to be here, if that's okay. She looked at their hands. She looked at his face. She looked back at the floor. The treatment takes about 2 hours, she said finally. Okay. You don't have to wait. I know. He stayed. He waited through all of it. He sat in that waiting area with a coffee he didn't drink and his jacket over his knees, and he waited. When she came out, she looked pale but steadier. She saw him still there. Something in her face moved. She sat down beside him. Halmune wants to make dinner, she said. She'll invite you and be impossible about it, and I can't stop her. I don't want you to stop her, he said. Silence. Ha-Jun. If this... She stopped. If this is going to be something... I need you to know that I'm not easy. I'm sick. I'm broke. I have opinions I'm not willing to soften. And I will not pretend to be something I'm not for your board or your mother or anyone else. He looked at her. I know, he said. I've known that since you said money must make saying, sorry difficult in a corridor with a mop in your hand. She almost laughed. Almost. Your mother isn't going to stop. No, he said. Probably not, but I told her what happens if she tries again. And she believed me. Joyce considered that. You'd really remove her from the board? Yes. She looked at him. He looked back. I don't know what I'm doing, she admitted. Neither do I, he said. But I'm done pretending that's a reason to do nothing. Later, much later, at Seo-yun's dinner table, Ha-Jun eating Seo-yun's cooking, humble food made with serious care, while Seo-yun asked him entirely inappropriate questions about his childhood and his feelings and whether he owned more than 5 suits. He answered all of them. Joyce sat across from him with her cheek resting on one hand, watching. After dinner, when Seo-yeon was pretending to do the washing up while actually listening to everything, Ha-jun said to Joyce, "There's something I've been trying to say for a few weeks." She raised an eyebrow. "I've been practicing it," he said. "I'm better at business than this." "I know," she said. Clears throat. "You saved me before I even knew your name," he said. "And then I found you again, and I was worse at this than I should have been. I want to be better at it. I want to stay. If you'll let me." Joyce was quiet for a moment. Behind her, Seo-yeon very deliberately ran the tap at full volume. Neither of them acknowledged it. "You're still bad at this," Joyce said. "I know." "That was the worst profession of feelings I've ever heard." "I know." "It was also the most honest thing anyone has ever said to me," she added. Quietly. He looked at her. She looked at him. "Don't make me regret it," she said. "I won't. And fix things with your mother properly. Not just a threat. Properly. Yes. And stop having Shai Wu quietly track my schedule. That's..." He paused. "I'll work on that." She shook her head, but she was smiling. Small, real. The kind that can't be faked. 3 months later, Joyce's treatment was consistent. Her numbers were improving. The doctor said things he hadn't said before, words like progress and responded and cautiously optimistic. Joyce sat with those words in the corridor afterward. She held them gently, like things she didn't want to drop. Ha-jun was in the car outside, not because she'd asked, because he'd decided that if he was going to be bad at caring about people, he was going to be consistently, persistently, unavoidably bad at it. Right there beside her, whether she found it annoying or not. She walked out. She got into the car. He looked at her face, reading it the way he'd slowly learned. And the set of her jaw, the tension in her shoulders, or the absence of it. Her shoulders were low. Her jaw was soft. "Okay," he said. "Cautiously optimistic," she said. He breathed out. Just once. But she heard it. She reached over and put her hand over his on the gear stick. He turned his hand over and held hers. Neither of them said anything. The car didn't move for a while, Seo-yeon said later that week to no one in particular, while watering her plants on the balcony. She ran toward a bleeding stranger in the rain 10 years ago, and the universe made sure she didn't do it alone forever. Nobody heard her say it, but she said it anyway, because some things are worth saying out loud, even if only to the plants. And that is where we leave them, not at the finish line, not at a perfect ending with all the loose threads tied and all the damage undone, just at the beginning. 2 people who found each other in the worst possible way, who hurt each other, who came back, who chose deliberately to try. Joyce, who had carried other people's weight for so long she had almost forgotten what it felt like to let someone carry some of hers. June, who had spent his whole life surrounded by people who performed care and had finally met someone who just meant it. And Min-sun? She sat across from her son at the next board meeting. She was, as always, composed. She did not interfere again, not because Ha-jun had threatened her, but because she had watched her son look at a woman the way she had always, quietly, hoped he would look at someone. She wasn't ready to admit it out loud, but she was thinking, and sometimes that's where change begins. There is a phrase Joyce said in the rain 10 years ago to a boy she didn't know. She said it because she was scared, and she wanted him to know he wasn't alone in it. It's okay to be scared, just don't be alone in it. I'm here. He never forgot it. She never knew he remembered. And now they don't have to say it anymore because they both already know. If this story moved you, if Joyce made you feel something real, then do one thing before you go. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a comment telling us what was the moment that got you. Was it the boardroom, the corridor, the hospital waiting room, the dinner table with Seo-yeon? Tell us. We read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, we use stories with real stakes, real emotion, and people who choose to stay, then stay with us too. We will be here. This story is written by Afro Swell Cinema, an original production. All characters are fictional.